Welcome back, everyone, to King Pomeyer's book review. I know it's been a while. I have been reading like a fiend recently, and I'm back. I'm going to try and be putting up more content. Just life has been getting in the way, but screw life, Stephen King. As you all know, or should know, 2 weeks ago I finished The Stand, and The Stand has been one of those things that's been hyped for so many years for me, even before, like I've told you before, I haven't been a book reader for that long, only 3 or 4 years. Now it's my life. But even before, when I was just really focusing on gaming and horror, I've heard about The Stand. I've heard about Randall Flagg. I've heard about this story and how it is King's epic. And as a horror fan, always having it compared to it. I've always seen that question. Everyone on Instagram, Facebook, social media, you always have The Stand versus it. What is your take? And for me, it was always a non-question. One, I never read The Stand or watched the 90s miniseries, but I've always loved it. It's my Lord and Savior, Tim Curry. It is a killer clown. It is everything that I could possibly want. I love the 90s miniseries. I would love to do a review of it one day and just gush over that because I think it's flawless. It's early 90s. It has that, it can be very cheesy at points, but I love it for it. You have Tim Curry as Pennywise. I mean, that, and you also have like an all-star cast. But enough about it. That will be maybe one day a review that I can do with Sam So Spooky. Sam, please, let's talk about Tim Curry's greatness. But now, going back to what I was originally going with, The Stand, where this is The Stand. Before I continue, I need to say that I had no idea how to do this review, and even now, I'm still just kind of spitballing. That's why I like to do my reviews. This is completely filled with spoilers, so if you've not read The Stand, please stop watching now. I know it's a bad thing to say, but you need to stop watching and you need to read it and or maybe wait, I think, was it a week or two for the new miniseries, or watch the 90s miniseries, which I've heard does hold up. This is all spoilers. I'm not going to give a full play-by-play of everything that happens in this book, because if I did that, I'd be here for 45 minutes just going over the plot. So you've been warned. Spoiler time. I started reading this book, I think, a week or two before COVID hit. COVID and this book do not mix, especially in the early weeks, not even months, the early weeks of COVID. So I immediately stopped reading the book. It was just too much pandemic for me. So I picked it back up, I think, right after Halloween, and I finished it, I think, right before Thanksgiving. This book is an epic. You fell in love with these characters. I felt like I was on this journey with them. You have the disease Captain Trips ravage the entire Earth. 99% plus of the population has been wiped out, and you follow these survivors and you follow them on this journey. You have Stu, Larry, Franny, Mother Abigail, and Nick Andros as your main characters. All of them start in different places, but they all, meet up one way or the other. And I think all of these characters, all these main characters are great. You really feel like you're on this journey with them. They each have their own little quirks. I really like Nick. I think he, as someone who is deaf, he overcomes so much. He becomes a pillar of the new society. And every time it was a Nick chapter, I was always very, very excited because it's Nick. And yeah, his death absolutely broke my heart. I was not expecting it. I really did think after meeting like the main characters, I really thought that it was going to be Nick versus Randall at the end. And we lost that because of arguably one of the most horrible characters of all time. Wonderfully written, but just... We'll get to Harold later. But as for the rest of the main characters, I loved all of them. I felt very connected with them. But something that you should know about me as a reader, but as someone who just likes entertainment, I've always been really drawn to side characters. I don't know why that is, but for me, reading The Stand, Tom Cullen, Glenn, and Ralph were my favorites. I absolutely adored these characters. One, you have Tom Cullen. I love Tom Cullen. You have a mentally handicapped man, and he is just good personified. He just wants to help. He ends up saving Stu at the end. He saves Nick's life in the very beginning when a tornado comes and Nick doesn't hear it coming, and Tom immediately rushes them to safety. Tom Cullen, you the real MVP. I love Tom Cullen. One day I will do a top 10 King characters for me. Tom Cullen will probably be on that list. What a man. He's so lovable. He's such a good-hearted... He's just good. The embodiment of good is Tom Cullen. Tom Cullen, top notches. And then you have Glenn Bateman. I love the fact that you have this sociologist who's helping guide, this new society and really challenging them, and, just having that input I thought was amazing. And I thought that Glenn was a great character. Once again, it's nothing against the main cast, but with these side characters, whenever Glenn was talking, I was like, okay, Glenn, show us the way. I love Glenn. And then you have Ralph. Ralph and his loyal dog, whose name I cannot remember. But I loved Ralph because he was just a good-hearted, blue collar, just a good guy who just wanted to help in any way he could. Their deaths really did have an impact on me. I know a lot of people died at the very end with, the nuke going off. Fucking trash can man. We'll get to him also, but those three characters really did steal the show for me. I thought they were just my absolute favorites. I believe it's been a couple of weeks. I believe it was Glenn that he baited Lloyd into killing him. And it was, I just love that scene. It broke my heart because, oh my God, it's Glenn. But, Lloyd is having issues, like, doing what Randall's telling him to do. And Glenn's like, you don't know what you're doing. It's okay. And, of course, Lloyd blows him away, breaks my heart. But Glenn's just laughing at him. Like, you're just a pawn. I'm like, oh, Glenn Bateman. To the very end. Just a badass. Love Glenn. Now, let's flip over to two of the most horrible characters. Wonderfully written, but characters I absolutely despise. You have Harold and you have Nadine. Nadine, she had a lot going on. The fact that she was supposed to bear Randall Flagg's child. She loved Larry, but she had a lot going on. So I really don't fault Nadine for what she did. Harold, talk about taking rejection really personally and seriously. I really don't think, after thinking about this for 2 weeks since I finished this book, I do not remember a character I hated more than Harold. I liked him in the beginning. I thought he was going to have a wonderful redemption arc, but he ends up being essentially Judas. He betrays them. He kills Nick and several other characters. What did he say before detonating the bomb? Like, this is Harold Lauder, and I do this under my own free will. Oh, you bastard. He does really, like, his death is really tragic and very poetic, but fuck Harold. To Nadine, she may have, and I don't know why, one of my favorite scenes in the book when she baits Randall into killing her and killing his child. Just, I love how King talks about it, how Randall grabs her and throws her through the window, you know, on top of a friggin' casino in Vegas. And, like, as she's falling out, she's smiling, and Flagg realizes, like, oh, you planned this. It was perfect. So Nadine does get one up on Randall, and that's really hard to do. Now we are going to the other side. So you had all of these characters going to find Mother Abigail. Sorry, it's amazing. I'm 11 minutes into this movie review, and I just mentioned Mother Abigail. The embodiment of good, God's chosen one. I liked Mother Abigail. She was fine. I've always been drawn to the baddies. I've always been drawn to that other perspective. And Randall Flagg. I forget who... I apologize because we've done so many great reviews with so many other King fans. But one of our reviewers, one of the people we interviewed, said, like, you like Randall Flagg, don't you, Dylan? Like, no, I've read The Stand yet, but why? I just remember this person being like, I feel like you're going to be, like, a Randall Flagg disciple. I am. You were right, whoever you are. Leave in the comment who made that comment, because thank you. Randall Flagg is the greatest Stephen King villain of all time, and in the pantheon of my all-time favorites. He is in my top 3. He is the embodiment of evil itself. I could make a whole video just gushing over Randall Flagg. He has all of his followers gather in Las Vegas. He is a tyrannical ruler. You have people crucified, like, on their way into Vegas. Yeah, don't cross Randall. He does he's able to get people from people with really good jobs and people who can get the power back on, and doctors and, you know, people within the military. He draws all of them to him, so their society is a lot more advanced than the other society with Mother Abigail. You have some great characters with Randall Flagg. You have the Trash Can Man. I love the Trash Can Man. When he found the nuke, I was like, oh no, what are you gonna do with that? And he brought it as a gift. Like, I'm sorry, Randall, I'm so sorry. Here. And Randall is just like, I'm out. You have Lloyd. I really did like Lloyd, from being in a prison cell eating the guy in the other cell to being the right-hand man of the devil himself. Moving up in the world, Lloyd. Both really well-written characters, but it's all about Randall Flagg. It's all about this being. I love the fact that he has such big plans. He wants to obviously take over what was the United States. And there's a line in The Stand where he talks about there being others like him in other parts of the world. But I'll deal with that later. Like, there are other Randall Flaggs. Like, oh my God. I like how Randall doesn't know who he is. I like the fact that his own, even with all of his power, he can only do so much. He knows that there's another spy, but all he can see is the goddamn moon. What does that mean? M-O-O-N. That spells Tom Cullen. It's just, the story is just such an epic, and afterwards I was tired. I jumped right into the Wolves of Kala, and it took me a while to get into the book, not because the book is bad. I'm really enjoying the Wolves of Kala, but the stand just took such a toll on me. I felt so tired after reading it. Tony from Tony's Horror Corner said it the best. You're going to have a hangover after this book. And it's been 2 weeks since I finished it, and this hangover really hasn't gone away. I don't know if I'm going to watch the new miniseries. The book is so perfect for me. I really don't want that series kind of interfering with the vision I have in my mind. We'll see. I am really interested in also watching the 90s version. I've heard that's actually really good, despite it being, 90s and having that wonderful 90s cheesiness. But absolutely agree. The Stand is, for something to be hyped up so much and for so long for me, and the fact that I got this, it's very, very rare that something can live up to that hype. And now that I've got you here, I can finally, after so long, give my personal opinion. The Stand versus It. I will go with the latter. I will go with It. I think it is at the end of the day, I'm a horror fan. I don't usually dive into post-apocalyptic. The Stand is outstanding, but I'm going with It. But what I will say is that Randall Flagg is better than Pennywise to me, and I never thought that would happen. I was very close to getting a Pennywise tattoo when I was living in Barcelona. I still want it, but I think I'll be getting a Randall Flagg one before, because Randall Flagg is everything to me. He is the greatest Stephen King villain. I'm just still speechless over this book. What a wonderful story. I would love to talk about this book with anyone. DM me or whatever, because I didn't even touch the surface, and there's so much more I could talk about in this book, but I've been talking for over 18 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed this. Tell me your thoughts on The Stand. Did you like it? Who are your favorite characters? Who spoke to you? Let me know, because I would love to talk about this with anyone. I cannot recommend this book enough. I've heard recently there's also a graphic novel of it. I may want to check that out. Thank you so much for watching all of this. Have a wonderful holiday, and go read The Stand. And if you've read it, read it again, because I know next year I'll be reading it. This has been KPM Sunday Book Review, and I'll see you next week.